Hello and welcome to Rauta's Polish black metal review, or exactly 2 reviews, 1 go. So hence this being a dual review. This one features a band from Poland called Trup, which means body or corpse. Well, dead person anyway. And what I have here is, the debut full-length album, the first one from 2019 and the MCD from 2021. And decided to make it just one video instead of 2, having them span in different days. Well, because it doesn't really make that much of a sense. Let's start with the first album, which is 40 minutes of something. And it's a full-length album, obviously. And this is one of those newer new school bands from Poland, given that this was founded around 2017. Made a demo the very next year. And, soon after that, this full-length album, which features devil character on the cover. However, this 4-man band isn't your typical black metal band, even though they might look like, hey, we're stuck in the 90s with our Matrix coats and corpse paints. And, of course, with these nails and bullet belts. So it looks kind of like your average black metal band coming from Norway, just with Polish name, but in fact this is quite a bit of different. What first strikes me here is that, well, the guitar sound is something that kind of reminds me of old school Swedish death metal. It's kind of a sunlight, buzzing sound, which is kind of a more powerful, not as raw or thin as your typical black metal sound. And here, take a look at this kind of an inside hidden message. Anyway, what I was saying is that the guitar sound kind of gives you a little bit of this death metal feeling. Now that accompanied with the fact that this is actually a band that goes mostly rather slow-paced, mid-paced, but anyway, not your fast-paced, aggressive ways as so many black metal bands. Then accompanied with riffs which are sometimes plain weird and sometimes don't really sound like your typical black metal band, makes this album a very, very peculiar. It's kind of interesting because it sounds rather original, but not only in good ways. That is, all these songs here are something like, what the hell? And then you have one of those better riffs and they're pretty much ready to go on. And then you're like, once again, like, what? Now, the downside of all these originalities, sometimes it really picks your imagination and you kind of start to like it because, well, at least it's not something that you hear on your everyday black metal trips. But the downside is, well, it's just too weird and it gets a little bit boring every now and then. Now, this MCD, which came early 2021, Ecce Satanas, is a little bit different breed. I mean, basically, there are lots of similarities. And it's clear that this band is like quite the same, but also taking big giant leaps to a different direction. Mainly because now the tempo at some points picks up quite a bit, yet still holds true to this kind of a mid-tempo legacy, if you will. But also because now the death metallic parts, and mind you, this is not black death hybrid, even though there are some death metallic features. This is definitely riff-wise more darker and typical black metal. Having these 4 songs, some 21 minutes, it's kind of a more typical ways to play black metal, yet it still holds true to Trup's legacy. Now, because of these style change, or should we say just evolution, in my opinion, Ecce Satanas is actually quite a bit better. Now, that doesn't really mean a good album. It's very decent, it's quite promising and all that stuff, but it's still somewhat lacking behind versus so many other bands which are, well, more experienced, more established, if you will. Now, the thing here with Krew diabla, I don't know how to pronounce this, maybe it's Krew diabla or something like that. The problem is, for me anyway, it kind of gets boring after you find that it's kind of a gimmick band with having this death metal feeling, but it doesn't really have any good riffs. It's a very, very mediocre album, not exactly annoying, but more like boring when it's at its weakest. And when it's got these better ideas, well, you're like, okay, it's gonna get me going, but it doesn't. So I was kind of disappointed. I mean, I rarely have too big expectations. But like any other people out there, I do have certain kind of expectations. Like when you say, this is black metal album, I kind of like, okay, now I'm just ready for that. I'm adjusted to something which I'm supposed to hear. And when it's really something else, it usually goes the wrong way. Sometimes it might be a positive surprise. But as most surprises in life, most of them suck. Anyway, Ecce Satanas is the winner here. It's definitely a step up. So if you want to go to take a look at only one of these releases by the very band called Trup, I would say go with the newer one. It's a shorter listening experience with 21 minutes or so, whereas this is twice the length and, well, clearly more boring. Now, if this band keeps evolving from that with the same pace, 2 years and taking major leap forward, I would say the next album is gonna be a good one. But with these, I still think this is a very much a band in progress. Not a bad one, but not exactly very good one either. Anyway, go take a listen. At least this is something different than your old school Polish black metal bands. So it's a little bit different, even if not in totally good ways. But you decide for yourself. Take a look, take a listen, and I hope you enjoy it.